Hi and welcome to Hihu, and in this video we'll be taking a look at Batman Arkham Knight from June 2015. Normally at Hihu we take a look at older games and see how they hold up to modern standards, but in order to compare older games to newer ones I still have to keep up to date and play modern titles. So I figured I could still review newer games but look at them in a slightly different light. Today we are looking at the game just over a year old now, but we are seeing how the game holds up 12 months on, after the hype has worn off or maybe after the possible anger or upset the fans may have had. We are also seeing how the game holds up, looking at the game as the end of an epic trilogy that started from back in 2009. I've been playing the series since the start and I'm a massive fan of Arkham City, so when this game got released I was very excited. However, I didn't own a next-gen console, and at the time I heard nothing but horrible things about the PC port, so I waited until now to play it. Just a forewarning though, if you haven't played the first two games, going straight into this isn't going to do a whole lot for you. So what exactly is the Arkham series? They're a combination of gadget-based stealth and an up-close hand-to-hand slasher, where you press X to punch and Y to block. These segments are simple cinematic arcade fun, but they serve a purpose well. The game is set 1 year after the events of Arkham City, and I am purposefully not disclosing much information here as I don't want to spoil anything. The game starts off as what I would say to be an amazing opening. Establishing Scarecrow as the main villain was just perfect, and I honestly didn't expect them to pull him off like that, considering that in the first Arkham game, he was a secondary villain, and he made the player partake in these platforming stealth levels. So when they redesigned his character model for the newer generation of consoles, I was more than excited.
Nothing hurts like losing one of the family, knowing that there is no one to blame but yourself.
Now there was quite a bit of hype around this game following the success of Rocksteady's first two titles, and the flop that was Origins, which was made by Warner Bros. Games Montreal. So people were very excited for Rocksteady to come back and tie off the main trilogy. The biggest thing that they had to hype this game was the inclusion of the Batmobile. At the time of release, reviewers stated that the Batmobile was the weakest part of the game and felt out of place. And I do agree, but they didn't really specify as to how bad it can actually get. Now I'm gonna say this for the record, I really liked and then hated the Batmobile. When the Batmobile is first introduced, you are really pumped. I mean, dopamine is flowing through you. The Batmobile looked like it was a really fun and exciting feature. There's this one level at the start of the game where you have to rescue 5 or 6 policemen from the chemical plant. The plant is cut off into different segments broken off by barriers and walls. You first go in and establish where all the policemen are located, and then you establish that in order to get these men, you have to use the Batmobile to maybe pull a door open or two with your car's winch. So you cross the bridge, jump over, and have some fun with the Batmobile's combat. You then do some minor platforming with the Batmobile to release the first guy, and then you actually have to participate in some hand-to-hand combat whilst commanding the Batmobile to perform some finishing blows. You then soon realize that in order to get to the next area, you have to move a platform. Again, once hopping out of your Batmobile to fight some goons, to then use the controls to move the platform. After that, you then realize that you have to pull an elevator up with the Batmobile, hop inside, and then controlling the Batmobile, pull it down. Now yes, I realize that I've given an entire walkthrough to a level, but here is the comparison to why I think the Batmobile makes the game falter in the later half of the game. So up until this point, the game has been a mixture of stealth, fighting, and Batmobile segments. The Batmobile fights are probably the weakest part of the game, as they don't really offer anything fun but this arcade feel to them. It's just blowing up things with taunts given by the Arkham Knight himself. Now by this point in the game I'm going to talk about, you were really fatigued by the way the game has forced you to use the Batmobile in maybe every second or third encounter. But there's a whole entire level dedicated purely to the Batmobile. I mean, you can't hop out of it, because if you do, you will die. So there's maybe 20-30 plus minutes of just Batmobile combat, fight after fight, wave after wave. Not only is it annoying, but I just found it to be so clunky and I found myself failing way too often. All other segments I'm fine with. I love stealth and I thoroughly enjoy combat, and I didn't mind, and I really enjoyed the combination of using both the Batmobile and also combat and puzzles in each level. But if I failed in combat, that was my own fault. I just found this to be way too clunky and way too fatiguing. But this later level, you can't even hop out of the Batmobile. It was just horrible, lazy level design. Compare this level of wave after wave of Batmobile combat to the first level I just described. It involved Batmobile platforming, problem solving, hand-to-hand combat, which included the Batmobile's awesome help and then some stealth. It's just so lazy as to how the game progressed in the later half of the game. The people who are mainly watching this video, yes, you, is someone that has played probably the first 2 games, but have heard mixed things about the third one. And whilst everything that you loved that's in the first 2 games is here, and you can tell that they've tried to add something new in, they haven't really taken anything out either. It's everything you wanted, I guess. It's really fun for a while, but the later half of the game just becomes really tedious. So just remember, please be patient with this game if you're going to play it, because it's still fun. Like, I really enjoyed it, but the later half was just really tiring for me, I guess. Now, I get that I'm whining, but it's not just me. One of my friends played this game shortly after me, as I told them I was loving it. She felt that it was way too annoying on this mission, and she actually stopped playing after that. She then went to YouTube and had to watch the rest of the game there. But why did she watch the rest of the game? Because the story up until this point has been so good. And it's still good until the end. I really enjoyed Arkham Asylum, and I really loved Arkham City. But the cinematic treatment that they gave Arkham Knight and the intensity of the story just was so damn enthralling. There are a few stories at play here. You firstly have Scarecrow trying to take over the city, and then you also have a story coinciding, playing alongside Joker's infection spreading through Batman's veins, slowly turning him into the Joker. The Joker's mental projections were my favorite part of the game. He added such unique and fun commentary to the events taking place past, present, and future. Even in the heaviest of moments, Joker would come in and just mess with you. There are some pretty trippy moments, especially in the last part of the game, and I really commend Rocksteady for how they pulled that off. I'm not going to talk in depth about the story, but it's so goddamn cinematic and enjoyable. I cannot recommend enough playing this game purely for the story. The hand-to-hand combat is pretty much the same, with a few added features with environmental knockouts and stuff. The stealth parts are also the same. Rocksteady knows what works and they went with it. However, they tried to add something new and you can tell that it's not exactly the best. The side missions were also really enjoyable. I loved the Penguin side missions with Nightwing. The Riddler ones with Catwoman were also really fantastic, and the Man-Bat missions were pretty fun, yet a small inclusion. But I guess simply put, the weakest part of the game was the Batmobile. My favorite part of the game was probably against Harley Quinn, and the entire level where you're fighting her and her thugs. At the time of release, this game received a lot of flack on PC, being named one of the worst ports in current gen history. It had so many bugs, it made Bethesda look good. The game received amazing reviews on console, however. Now, it's been 12 months, and I can tell you that the game works perfectly fine on PC, and all bugs have been addressed and fixed. I can't speak from experience, as I actually played this on PS4, as I got it super cheap pre-owned, but after doing plenty of research online, it looks like the game works perfectly fine on PC now. The game sells for around $40 on console and around $30 on Steam. It goes on sale on the reg and goes for around $15 when on sale. However, I can recommend you buy only this game pre-owned or on sale, as whilst the story and the majority of the game is very enjoyable, the Batmobile really weighs down this game to the point that it induces fatigue and possible rage. I'm going to get around to review the earlier titles, as it feels kind of out of place to review the last game, but why not work backwards, I guess? Have you played this game, and what did you think of the Batmobile? Who was your favorite villain to play against in the Arkham trilogy? Let me know in the comments below. I would say mine would have to be Mr. Freeze from Arkham City. What an amazing boss fight. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, hit the like and sub button. If you have any suggestions for games I should review, both new and old, please let me know. This is Shawnee Maurice from Hihu. Thanks for watching.